why we choose IT, what are the available job opportunities, and what is the current field is like, how we can progress into our careers, and what type of job opportunities we have. And overall, let's just talk about everything related to IT and where we can go forward with. So, welcome to the icebreaker session. So, this is a session where we talk about few points based on primarily the economy and you, where how you will be part of the economy. Yes, on what type of job opportunities you have in the economy, and what is the current status of the economy, and how you can be part of this country to help the economy to grow. And then we'll be discuss about why IT, and mainly about why you selected IT, and who are you. So I will give you some points where we discuss why you have to do IT, and you have to understand and recognize who you are before you get into the IT field, because depending on your type, your personality, the different career paths you can go forward changes. So we'll talk about that point as well. And then at the end, understanding the industry, which will be the last point which we are going to talk about today, where we will go in depth about not all, the primarily available job roles or career opportunities we have, and then we'll go through it and see how it works. So again, just to explain this in Sinhala, so economy and you අපි බලමු අද මේ economy එකෙන් අපිට මොකද්ද තියෙන chance එක අපි IT කළා අපිට කොහොමද කොහෙටද යන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක. ඒකයි YIT, ඇයි ඔයා IT choose කරේ, who am I, මම IT වලට හරියනවද, මම කොයි වගේ job එකක්ද කරන්න ඕනේ, මම කොහොමද යන්නේ, අනිත් එක understanding the industry. අපි ඒකේ කතා කරමු මොනවද දැනට තියෙන ප්‍රධාන ජොබ් රෝල්ස් ටික, කොයි වගේ ජොබ් රෝල් සෙට් එකක්ද තියෙන්නේ, ඒ ජොබ් රෝල්ස් වල කොයි වගේ ජොබ් එකක්ද කරන්න තියෙන්නේ, and how it is structured. So before we start anything, I would explain you guys, so introduce myself to you. So my name is Vipula Anandape. I've been in the industry for the past almost 20 years. So I've been lecturing, and I'm currently the owner of a couple of software companies located in Sri Lanka and located abroad. And I do teach at a couple of universities as well as a couple of private universities as well. So I'm a visiting lecturer, as well as I teach A-level ICTs, Cambridge and edXL. So I'm currently um, reading for my doctorate, BBA, as well as I have completed my BSc and MSc and a couple of other qualifications as well related to IT. So yes, we started IT back in the early days, where introduced was like at the time where internet was actually introduced Sri Lanka, and from that time onwards we were into. I was basically into web development and applications, and currently I own a company where we focus on web developments, e-commerce platforms. ඔයගොල්ලන් හොඳට දන්න ලොකු platforms ටිකකුත් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම we focus on mobile apps as well. So that is my history. So this is what I'm going to bring to the table at this point. And what I can say is, because of all my experience, my previous experiences, what I can bring you guys, what I can teach you guys is much more stronger compared to a typical lecturer, where because since I have a lot of field experience and industry experience, I can show you guys what we actually have in the industry and how things actually work in the industry. So that is what I can basically give you guys compared to a typical school lecture. Okay, so I hope all of you guys are interested in ICT and you want to get into the IT field, primarily as a software engineer or as a different engineer, which we are going to talk about in the coming slides, and we'll see how it works. So in simple terms, since we were back in the industry for a long time, අපිට chance එකක් හම්බුණා industry එක grow වෙන හැටි බලන්න. දැන් ගොඩක් අයට හම්බුවෙච්ච නැති chance එකක් මට තිබුණා. මොකද අපිත් එක්ක තමයි industry එකයි technology එකයි grow වුණේ. So we were basically the pioneers in that part. But you guys are actually the lucky bunch because now you're in a very powerful saturated industry and the technology aspect of things. So ඔයගලන්ට ගොඩාක් දේවල් කරන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද දැන් technology එකත් powerful. අලුතෙන් availability ගොඩක් දේවල් release වුණා, as well as we have AI, which is the hot topic right now. And now everybody is moving towards an AI age where we talk about data mining and so on and so forth. ඉතින් මට පුළුවන් ওই මුළු scope එකම ඕගලන්ට teach කරන්න. මොකද since I am coming from the field, as well as I just need to point out, so I will be starting with my team of developers in my company, where we will be doing a code camp, and it is totally free of charge, where you guys can freely join, where we will touch base on 3 primary modules in A level. So I will create another video for this anyway, a video where I explain this more. But then again, just to give you guys a nutshell, explain this in a nutshell, we will be releasing this session of videos where you can join and you can do some live coding with my engineers, of course, and also with me, where we will cover up 3 modules in A level, where we will discuss about the databases, system design, and web and PHP development, where we will start from scratch to build a full e-commerce and a CMS system, and we'll see how it goes on in the future. So for you guys, yes, feel free to join this, and we can make sure that we cover all those modules by the end of that particular program. And also, we have a plan of awarding you guys a certificate as well. Still, it is in the discussions, but yes, at a certain point, we will be able to give you guys a fully finalized, fully valid certificate as well. So let's keep that on side, and let's jump into the session. So the economy. How is the economy? Now, we all know we had to go through a hard period. There was issues, there was ups and downs, and still, as we all say, as Sri Lankans, we survive, right? So we do go forward, we know how to fight, and we do survive. We are fighting through this economical crisis. But anyway, so what I can say is, yes, you guys play a massive role in this particular economy, where you are the next generation which needs to strengthen this economy and take things onto your hand. So in order to do that, you need to secure powerful positions in different careers, where you will be able to give back what you have learned into the economy, so that we can grow as a country. So in simple terms, ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ ජෙනරේෂන් එක තමයි ඉදිරියට මේක කන්ටිනියු කරන්න ඉන්නේ. එතකොට එක වෙලාවකදී we will get into a point where you guys really need to take things into your hand, and you have to go forward. So learning IT would give you that edge, where mainly now, since we all know these IT jobs and all the companies located in Sri Lanka, we are catering to a foreign audience, right? So because we are catering to foreign audience, obviously, we are doing our job in order to bring foreign currency in, right? So most of the 99.9% of the IT companies, they do work for foreign companies, including my company. So we do have customers located in all throughout the world: Europe, US, UK, Australia, and so on and so forth. So now, if you join this IT force, obviously, yes, you will be part of a person who will be helping the economy to sustain and grow as well. At the same time, guys, remember now, since with all these new let's say opportunities which were introduced by the government. So if you work for a foreign company and if you earn in dollars or euros or whatever the foreign currency, you are eligible of getting some good stuff. So මං හිතනවා ඔයගලන් දැකලා ඇති කියලා ගිය දවස් ටිකේ ටෙස්ලා කාස් ටිකක් එහෙම ලංකාවට ආවා. So obviously now if you are earning in foreign currency, then yes, you are eligible to buy one of those cars tax free. Who knows? ගන්න පුළුවන්. chance එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ වගේ දේවලුත් තියෙනවා. So this entire field actually offers you a lot of opportunities in multiple different ways and in multiple different factors. So just keep that in mind. And anyway, when it compares to other careers, getting into ICT or getting into the IT field as a software engineer or any sort of engineer would reap you benefits in the long run. So that is what I mainly want to explain at this point. So hope that point is clear. Let's jump to the next question. Why IT? Now, this is an important question where you need to think about how we are going to answer this. So yes, I know mainly if you do ICT for A levels, there is a high chance for you to get a good grade, which can be more than 70, which in return will increase your score, score, which in return will let you or which grant you entrance to a university, right? So that is perfectly normal. We all know that. That's one option. Perfect. That's not a problem. So you can do that and you can get access to or get entry to a university easily. At the same time, why did you choose to learn IT? And are you going to choose this as a career? So that is what you want to ask from yourself. So example is now I come from a background where I learned multiple things. So I was working at multiple different types of jobs. I did a lot of odd jobs, we all did. And then finally end up in this IT field. And at the same time, it took me some time, personally, it took me some time to actually recognize my capabilities and what I'm actually capable of. Okay, so in my case, I am more into an architect. So I'm more into the architectural part of things. So I love to create new stuff. I love to invent new designs, patterns, and so on and so forth. So that is my cup of tea. That is my strong suit. But then again, there are people who has different different abilities and who wants to get into different sides or different fields inside the IT industry itself. So that is also possible. Like example, I do have one of my friends, she can speak French really well and she became a software engineer and now she's working at a French company and she's working at a project manager, which is paying a salary almost more than 6 figures, and she's doing quite well. So what she did was she did languages as well as at the same time she did IT, and she completed a degree as well. Now she's into project management. So yes, so even whatever the path you select, there are opportunities in the IT industry, but you have to make sure that you select the correct path and you travel the correct path. Plus, there are some extra, let's say, certifications or programs you will have to follow in order to secure qualifications. So, but just don't think that you are doing some odd subjects and you're not able to go to a IT related job. That's exactly not true. So you do have the option to move forward within the IT industry in a specific range. Example is now I do have one of my friends who has a maths major, so he did his BSc in mathematics, so he has a maths major, but he is working as a software architect now. He's getting a massive salary, as well as now he's basically in a complete different field. So he did mathematics for A levels, but while we did A levels, we didn't had ICT back in the day. But then again, he somehow switched the path. Now he's an engineer. So the point what I wanted to explain was there's no such thing as I am on a specific path and I cannot in, get entrance to the software industry. That is perfectly, that is purely not true. You can get into the industry, but as I said, you need to select the path you want to go. Okay, so my job is basically to show you all the paths which you can travel so that you can make that decision. Then, so I have mentioned few points where why IT, why selecting IT will benefit you in long term. So mainly we do have a high demand. So as you guys know, Microsoft and OpenAI and all these companies, Microsoft, OpenAI, Nvidia, and Apple, and all these companies are basically fighting to build the latest AI bot, build the latest AI model. ඉතින් ඔය ඔක්කොම ෆයිට් එක ASCII කවුද ෆයිට් කරන්නේ ඕනම යුද්ධයකදී ගත්තොත් we need soldiers, right? So for any war you need soldiers. So you guys are the soldiers. So whatever we do, whatever we go forward with, we do need people to work and people to build applications and services likewise. So yes, IT still the demand is extremely high. So we do have a high demand for IT professionals. Okay, so please do remember the word. We do have a high demand for IT professionals. Now, the reason I'm like specifically reflecting on this word is when it comes to the IT field, you can just become a simple developer, or you can specifically focus on a specific area and you can build your skills. If you build your skills, then you can obviously become a professional in that area. Okay, so yes, obviously we have a high demand, and then as I explained before, we do have diverse opportunities. That is the main reason anybody can get into the IT industry, because there are multiple various specializations and there are multiple various applications where you can put software into. Example, I'll give you guys a very simple example. Think about the hotel industry. So the hotel industry, IT completely changed the whole playing field when it comes to hotel industry, because IT introduced booking engines, reservation systems, recommendation engines, and so on and so forth. ඔය booking engines ටික ආපු එකෙන් කොච්චර ලොකු දෙයක් වෙනස් වුණාද අපි දන්නවා booking.com වගේ ඒවා. So these sites, they revolutionarily changed how people went on vacations, right? So now දැන් හිතට simple විදිහට ගන්නකො. දැන් අපි හදනවා booking system එක. ඕක to develop this booking system, can you develop it as a software engineer? Just think about that factor. In a case, no, right? In order to develop a booking system, you need to know, or you need to have a certain background in reservations and bookings in order to do this, right? So that's the typical fundamental point, or the fundamental base thing when it comes to getting into this particular industry. So anybody who has booking experience, they can easily join, they can easily become a software engineer, and they can actually excel in that particular area. So likewise, it goes on multiple different areas: restaurants, booking, healthcare, and so on and so forth. So everything is connected together. That is about the diverse opportunities. And then continuous learning. That is one of the most important points, which is the third one, where you will be able to continuously evolve and continuously upgrade or like try out and expand your learning and your knowledge based on IT, because obviously this is a field where you will have to continuously learn and evolve. Example is now people can keep on building new technologies, new applications, and new systems every day based on hardware and all. So that means when something new is released, you do have to go forward and cover that point up, right? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to cover, like, understand what is exactly going on, right? So that is one of the primary important points, because you need to make sure that you exactly know that, sorry, you need to make sure that you exactly follow one point, and you have to learn and make sure that you know that point. Then the next most important thing is flexibility. Now, after we went through this pandemic situation, we actually got into a different work culture where IT companies and developers were able to sustain their work environment by working from home. And this entirely changed the way we looked at IT developers and software engineers, because everybody had the opportunity to work from home, and all the work locations, the schedules, and everything got completely changed. So that was actually, in my personal opinion, yes, that was actually a good thing, because then this pandemic actually enabled us to access the whole world, because people stopped thinking about this strict 8 to 5 job, and people started focusing on work and projects. So even in most of the companies, they do have these flexible working options. And of course, this is one of the major reasons I push you guys as well. Now, because of this pandemic, and because we got into this remote working thing, most companies and different companies, sorry, most companies located in different countries, they started to allow people to work in their company from different countries and different locations. So it enabled what we call as remote jobs. So remote jobs opened up the whole different way of working, where people can all work from all throughout the world for a specific company during a specific timeline. So flexibility is there, and yes, the global opportunities, as I just explained, and mainly what I can say is job satisfaction. So if you are a tech geek who wants to stay up to date with all the technology and stuff, then obviously being getting into the IT sector would allow you to try out your stuff, buy new things, and be up to date. And at the same time, we would be basically focusing on technology and data driven applications. So you will obviously be up to date. Then, the next question, who am I? So, now this is one of the major points I want you guys to understand. Actually, to understand and get a clear idea before you get into this particular field, or if you plan to make IT as your primary career, then you have to focus on this. So, who am I? Who am I is mainly focused on, could you identify and understand who you are to determine what career you're good at. So, there are multiple different types of people who works on different type of careers, right? So we have doctors, engineers, and all sorts of people we meet day to day. So in your case, in your point of view, are you ready to take this challenge? And what type of person are you in order to get into this field? So now I'll explain this in a very nutshell type of a way, where we won't go in depth, but we'll see what is required to understand who your strength and weaknesses, and how you can find out whether you're capable of doing something like this. So first of all, you have to identify your strengths and weaknesses. Okay. Now, okay, yes, this is not the typical, uh, let's say, lecture. Okay. what I want is basically for you guys to excel in whatever you do, not like just to get 3 A's and just to go to university and select what is given to you. That is that is what we had long time ago. Like let's say about 10-15 years ago, you pass your exams, මොකක් හරි කරලා ඒ තුනක් දාගන්නවා නැත්නම් B එකයි C එකයි මොනවා හරි දාලා යුනිවර්සිටි යනවා. ඔන්න ගියාට පස්සේ then the university offers you something. University එකෙන් කියනවා ඔයාලට මේ ටික කරන්න පුළුවන්. And those days what people did was hari මට මේකනේ කරන්න පුළුවන් okay then I'll do this. But that is not the way you guys have to do now, because now you have a vast variety of choices where you can select, and from that point onwards you can select and do whatever you want. Okay, so ඉස්සර අපිට අම්මලා තාත්තලා කියනවා ඔයගලන්ට ඕන එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. ඉස්සර ඇත්තටම ඒක කරන්න බෑ. Back in the day, like if you want to become someone like let's say a doctor, we unless you had money, you had no choice. Okay, you had to study and you had to go through your exams and so on and so on. But now, yes, even if you don't like pass the exams, I mean not pass කියලා මම කියන්නේ fail වෙන්න බෑ, pass වෙන්න ඕනේ, but still shape එකේ pass වුණත් if you have money, if you can spend, there are different options where you can either go to a different country, or there are institutes in Sri Lanka as well where you can pay and you can get into whatever the field you want. Even you can become a doctor, right? So ඔය options ටික තියෙනවා. ඔය options ටික තියෙන නිසා තමයි මම මේ point එක explain කරන්නේ, because you really need to find your strengths and weaknesses, and you need to find it now period. That is it, because now you guys are in doing A levels, because now we are reaching the peak age where you have energy, you can go out, you can work, you can do stuff, you can learn, and this is the prime days you have. So at this point you need to understand where you want to go and who you are. So strengths and weaknesses, yes, that will help you understand what are the strengths you have and what are your weaknesses. අපි හැමෝටම weaknesses තියෙනවා. කවුරුත් perfect නැහැ. අපි හැමෝම human beings and I think everybody has their own weaknesses. So you have to find out what are your weaknesses and what are your strengths, and if that weakness is something which we can solve, or we can give a solution by doing something, then we'll sort it out. Solution then sorry, that's okay, we'll try to sort it out somewhere, right? So then that is the primary point, and then understanding personal values and how they align with career goals. So this is again I'm not going to talk about any other fields, because since I'm teaching IT and ICT, so in ICT what I can say is depending on your skills. So this is a question I asked from my uni students, as well as a question I asked from my physical class students, where what type of games you love to play. Okay, so this question varies in 3 different sections, types. So there are 3 different types of games. You have role-playing games, you have first-person shooters, and you have strategy games. Okay, so an RPG, a role-playing game, is something like if we have gamers here, you guys know Red Dead Redemption, GTA, and games like that. So those are type of games where you play a role and you do some sort of you get a task and you play and you get that task done. And then you have this first person shooter games where you just take a gun, you shoot, and whatever the mission you get, you finish the mission, and then that's it. And then the third type we have is strategy games. So strategy games, we have this popular game called Dota, Defense of the Asians, and then there are a lot of different types of strategy games, League of Legends, and so on and so forth. So now, depending on the type of game you love to play, we can assume not මේ full fix කියන්න බෑ මේකයි කියලා, but then again we can come up to a kind of like idea depending on type of games you love to play. Oh, okay, Abhi, let's forget about PC games. Let's think about actual sports. So if you are a single player, then in the industry you might have the capacity to become a software engineer, and you might have the capacity to fight forward and get something done, similar to the FPS, first person shooters. So what they do is you get the specification, and we say go and finish this off, and you will play the game, you will code, you will work, and you finish it off. So those type of people we need, we really need those type of people, because they are the primary driving force of the company. They work and they get the things done. Then we have this role playing games and RPG lovers, where what they do is these type of people, they are mostly into, let's say, project managers and product managers and so on and so forth. So what they do is you basically tell them the path, and they go through that path, and they make sure that in order to go there, the rest of the tasks is also handled. Example is if you take GTA or Red Dead Redemption or Witcher or any sort of this role playing games. If I miss something, just mention that in the comments as well when this video is on YouTube, so that we can discuss that. And so those type of people who love those type of games, they do love a nice challenge. So for that type in the industry, we take them into project managers or people who can manage something. So they love to play a story. They need to have the story. They write this thing down, and they make sure that the entire team or the system is properly traveled in that path. Okay. Now we talked about two type of players, and the last type is strategists. So strategy games, Dota and all these type of games, or team, like if you play any team sports like football or something, then you might have the strategy building part. So these type of players or these type of people falls under the category for architects or designers. Okay, so what they do is they sit with the people and they build the strategy. Okay, so that is extremely important, because in a company we need FPS players, where they basically drive the force. They are the army, and then we have the project managers, where they will make sure that the army or the soldiers will do the job properly, and you have the strategists, where they will plan what is required to be done. Okay, so I'm just explaining you guys the structure of a company in very simple English. Okay, I hope that is clear and you can understand how this particular structure is built. So now, based on your abilities, you get the chance to get into different paths. So exploring different paths, everything is based on this. So if you are a FPS player, then your path is completely different. If you are into strategizing, strategies, project management, then you have different paths and you have different certifications, and you have a long way to travel. Okay? So that is where we end up in this who am I part. So when based on your potential, based on your abilities, what I can suggest is look for specific paths so that you can excel your career based on that particular path. So there can be different career goals and career opportunities, as well as depending on this particular path, there are different ladders, or we call them in the corporate industry, we call them the ladder you can climb up based on your promotions and so on and so forth. So depending on whatever the path you're going to select, these ladders change. So my job is basically to teach you guys to find this particular path if you are planning to get into the industry, and I would be able to guide you on how you can climb this ladder and how to select your particular path. So let's jump to the next part. Now, this is the next point, understanding the industry. Okay, so the industry, what we call as the IT industry, um, is rapidly evolving. Okay, so when I say evolving, I'll fill this up with a small story which we which I experienced almost long time ago. So I got into the corporate industry in 2008 as a software engineer working at one of the most renowned companies in Sri Lanka. So now back then, when we started, we did not had this type of different job roles in the company. Okay, so what we had was මෙහෙමයි had what we had කියන්න බෑ මෙහෙම දෙයක් ඇත්තට ඉන්වෙන්ට් කරලා තිබුණ නෑ මෙච්චර jobs because back then we didn't had this much of let's say different technologies. We had a couple of fixed technologies and that was it. And at the same time අපිට තිබුණ job opportunities, job roles ටික හරි පොඩි හරි full නිකන් sweet and simple job roles ටිකක් තමයි තිබුණේ. So because of that reason, we were kind of okay compared to what you guys now go through. අපිට ඔච්චර ස්ට්‍රෙස් එකක් තිබුණේ නැහැ ඉස්සර. අපි මොකද මම software engineer ඉඳන් when I climbed the ladder up to senior software engineer, we didn't had that much of tension in between because those ladders and those definitions were like clear cut ඇතුලේ අනම්මනම් මුකුත් තිබුණේ නැහැ. But now what happened was depending on the technologies which gets rapidly evolved and the new programming languages which was released and so on and so forth, this entire industry got changed. Okay, so now if you take even a single job role as a software developer or a software engineer, we have multiple levels inside that particular designation. Example, my explain kind of simple is it. Then about 15, 18 years ago, 20, close to 20 years ago, when you become a when you join a company, you join the company as a software developer. ඒ කාලේ කියන්නේ developer කියලා. හරි. Software developer, and then based on whether you have a degree or not, that particular designation changes. So example is you start as a software developer and after you complete your degree, your designation changes to software engineer. Until you have the degree, until you have a degree under your name, you will not get that engineer designation. Okay, so that was how we had back in the day. But then depending on different technologies and companies expanding and all sorts of different structures introduced into the industry, this particular job role changed into multiple different designations. So now what do we have? We have a base job role. Now let's say if you don't have a degree, if you do not have a BSc or bachelor's degree with you, and then sometimes like these large organizations, they will not give you the software engineer designation, but what they will give you is a software developer designation, where you might end up by getting in as a software developer. And after you do some sort of a bachelor's degree, then they might promote you to the software engineer. But there is a small catch. පොඩි catch එකක් තියෙනවා වගේ. ඔය catch එක තමයි, if you do your degree or if you're studying for your master BSc at a reputable organization, at a reputable university, then there is a chance for you to get into a company as an intern. Okay, so these degree programs has this thing called internship. So when you get into a company as an intern, since you are being backed by this university or whoever who is uh, accredited by that particular university in Sri Lanka, you will get the designation as associate software engineer. Okay, so it depends. Now it depends on the company, depends on different organizations, but in the typical scope, you will get that particular designation. And then once you get that designation, depending on depending on the company structure, this particular designation will have a specific ladder. Within the designation you will have a ladder where you can climb up. Okay, so I know it's a bit hard to understand, but yes, these are like corporate stuff which is normally they are in all the corporate industries, corporate companies when it comes to IT. So some companies they do have multiple tiers. So let's say you get in as an associate engineer and you become a software engineer, and after some time you become a senior software engineer, and then after that you do have the next step, which is going to be the technology lead. So tech lead level also has multiple levels in it. Some companies call them junior tech lead or associate tech lead, and you get the tech lead position, and you get the senior tech lead position, and after senior tech lead you have the architect position, and the architect also starts as associate to junior architect, and then architect and senior architect. And some companies they do have depending on the product. So we you guys should know now in even in Sri Lanka there are companies who focus on products and different types of services. So depending on the product, they do allocate you into different levels as well. So I do have a couple of my friends who are working at large companies, and in those companies they run roles such as uh, product VPs or product leads or product managers, something like that. So they basically control an entire division or the entire product management division in that company. So those are the topmost roles. And after that, yes, after like many years of experience, if you stayed in the same company, you might end up getting into the director board as well. So that is how this ladder works. I hope the ladder is clear. So now, the reason I explained this ladder was there are multiple different ladders based on different types of career paths which you are going to select. Monada mein career paths. What are these career paths? Now, the first basic career path, as you can see on the screen, is software developer or software engineer. So මෙන්න අර FPS කාරයෝ ටික FPS වලින් එන කට්ටිය තමයි මෙතන ගොඩක් වෙලාට ඉන්නේ. But then again, it depends. Now, මමත් I'm a strategist. I'm into strategy games. පොඩි කාලේ ඉඳන් Warcraft ඔය වගේ games එකක හිටපු මනුස්සයෙක් මම. හැබැයි I still love FPS as well. I love to play Modern Warfare, Call of Duty. ඉස්සර Modern Warfare පැලනකම් ගහනවා. And at the same time, I do love to play games like GTA as well. So it depends, right? So I do love to play every type of games, but my go-to choice is strategy because I love to build strategies and build game plans and so on and so forth. But then again, ඔය මොනවා ගහලා තිබ්බත් පටන් ගන්න ඕනේ මෙතනින්. So this would be your entry point. නැත්නම් you can become a project manager or somebody as well, but what I highly suggest is to start from this position as a software engineer or software developer, where then you will get the chance to experience the entire development process. Okay, so who are software engineers? Software engineers are basically responsible for designing, developing and maintaining software applications. Simple as that. Okay, so this can be a vast array of applications. It can be web development, it can be mobile apps, it can be desktop apps, it can be who knows, server-side applications, AI, data applications, any sort of application which requires a engineer to develop is basically will require a software engineer to work in it. So now you might ask, where can I start? Website එකක් හදනවද, server side යනවද, කොහොමද කරන්නේ? Good question. And in my case, what I can say is, with my personal opinion, this is just a personal opinion. Make a recommendation. Anyway, this is my personal opinion. Now, in my case, I'm personally a person who loves to see instant results. Okay? So, in my case, I loved web development from the early stages and server-side systems development, because you can build applications instantly and you can deploy it instantly and you can see how it works. කොටින්ම ගොත් අපි අපේ කම්පනි එකේ අපි සමහර ඉස්සර මම වැඩ කරද්දිත් අපි වෙබ්සයිට්ස් වෙබ් ඇප්ලිකේෂන්ස් විශාල වෙබ් ඇප්ලිකේෂන්ස් අපි හදලා තියෙනවා දවසෙන් දෙකෙන් හදලා අපි ඩිප්ලොයි කරලා. That kind of gives you this, do you call it, this sense of accomplishment where you accomplish something, a task, and it kind of gives you a good mood to finish something off. But that is my personal opinion. Hari, නැත්නම් if you take systems like any sort of a Windows application or a mobile application, it's not fast as building a website or a web app, but then again, it has its own perks as well. So example is, now sadly, while I was during my university ages, we did not had that type of game engines and all as you guys have right now. But now we have these game engines like Unreal and all these high-end systems where if you really want to become a game developer, right now itself you can download it, and luckily it's free also. You can play around with it and see. So it depends. So මම අර කලින් කිව්වා වගේ, you have to identify who you are. ඔයා කැමති එක, focus on that and go down that road. So if you are doing some weird subjects, ඉතින් එකකට එකක් ගැලපෙන්නේ නැති subjects ටිකක් කරනවා, but still you like to do that, still then again you might end up finding a specific path. Example is, I know students who do accounting and economics and ICT. So perfect mixture of subjects. So you do get multiple opportunities on this. You can either go forward as a software engineer for a fintech company, financial tech company, or you can actually work on different type of companies where it works related to accounting and numbers. So likewise, I hope you guys got the point, right? So this category is not specifically specified or like specifically given when it comes to develop software engineers and software developers. Now we jump into a specific path. So this was all generic. Anybody can start from this point. But now we jump into a specific path. Systems administrators and systems engineers. So who are these guys? Why do we need system administrators and engineers? In simple terms, system administrators basically manages and organize and keep things intact in an organization where their job role includes making sure the infrastructure is working, making sure the network and the servers and everything is properly managed. Okay, so they ensure the systems operate smoothly. මොකක්වත් කිසි ලෙඩක් නැතුව සිස්ටම් එක වැඩ කරනවද කියලා බලන එක තමයි මේගොල්ලන්ගේ ජොබ් එක. හැබැයි මෙතන හරි ස්ට්‍රෙස්ෆුල් ජොබ් එකක් මේක, because you have to be, most of the time you might have to be on site and you will have to understand this particular ecosystem. So when we jump into our lectures when we get into computing and cloud computing and all these structures I will teach you guys. අපි ඒක අපේ ඉස්සරහා modules වලින් cover වෙනවා. I'll teach you guys how cloud engineers and how these type of engineers work and what type of අපි ඉගෙන ගන්නවා මොන වගේ දේවල්ද ඒගොල්ලන් කරන්නේ කියන එක depending on the type of work and type of data and processing and systems we have. So that is the systems administrator and engineer. So they basically work on this one. And then we have network administrators and engineers. හරි. දැන් මේ දෙන්න පටලව ගන්න එපා. මේ දෙන්න system admin නුයි network admin නුයි. හරි. network admin කියන්නේ ටිකක් interesting job එකක්. That's a very interesting role where you kind of manage and design and implement the physical network of an organization. Example එකකට ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ඉස්කෝලේ නැත්නම් ඔයගොල්ලන් යන ක්ලාස් එකේ නැත්නම් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ගෙදර වුණත් network එකක් තියෙනවා නම් computer network එකක් තියෙනවා නම් network cables වලින් connect කරලා system එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒක design කරන්නේ network administrator කෙනෙක්. That entire process will be designed by a network admin. So what are the roles? So how this job works? The network administrator will obviously first of all focus on the design, the network design, the implementation, and they will tend to make sure that the organization's network infrastructure is up to date and it's working, as well as he will focus on making sure the security and whatever the structure is exactly intact. Okay, so they are responsible of ensuring the network's availability, performance, and obviously the security part. So this person is running a very let's say a crucial job to an organization, because if they kind of don't do this, somebody else will have to make sure that they will exactly run this application properly, and this not the application, all the hardware properly, and then somebody will have to make sure that everything works. Then we have the cybersecurity analysts and engineers. So this is now, we started from the systems admin and then we jump into the network administrator. Now we are talking about the cybersecurity analyst and engineer. Who is this cybersecurity guy? මේක ළඟදී කියන්නේ දැන් ටිකක් කාල. හැබැයි මේක අලුතෙන් introduce වෙච්ච point එකක්, a job role into the system where we basically hire people to make sure your organization's systems, network, and whatever the data is secured from different cyber threats. මොනවද මේ cyber threats කියන්නේ? හරිම අමුතු කතාවක්. Cyber threats are mainly making sure that your system cannot be hackable. අපි ඔයගොල්ලන් අහලා ඇති anonymous ඔය වගේ hackers groups තියෙනවා, hacking groups තියෙනවා. So there are different types of hackers. So we will learn about that as well during our lectures. So to explain this in a very small nutshell, there are different types of hackers where we have people who will try to damage you by hacking your system, and there are people who might not damage, but they might test and find out what is going on, and they might try to show you that the system is not stable, and so on and so forth. So now this cybersecurity analysts mostly falls under that second category, where you will use them to analyze an existing system, and they will find out whether this system is secured or not. So they do perform many different tasks, where mainly such as monitoring for security breaches, කවුරුහරි hack කරලා security issue එකක් තියෙනවද බලන එක, and implementing security measures. If they find some sort of an issue, then they would implement the required measures so that nobody can breach and get your data out or do any sort of a damage to your system. And then at the same time, they will conduct security audits, and they will also make sure that if something happens or if something already happened, they will make sure that they will track everything what happened, and they will make sure that the data is properly secured and you know what happened. Okay, so මේගොල්ලන්ගේ රෝල් එක එන්නේ මොන හරි හැක් වෙලා මොන හරි ඩැමේජ් එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඩැමේජ් එකක් වෙන්න කලින් ඒක ප්‍රිවෙන්ට් කරන එක. But at the same time they make sure that if something happened මොකක් හරි වුණා නම් ඒ වුණ දේ හරියටම ඔඩිට් කරලා ඒක ඔඩිට් කරනවා කියන ඇත්තට මේකේ ලිස්ට් එකක් අරගෙන මොකද්ද වුනේ කියලා they keep that with them, so that if this happens the second time, you know, but in an ideal situation it should not happen the second time, so that the problem will be prevented. So that's the primary idea behind the cybersecurity analyst and engineer. And then we get into this very interesting job where we are currently having a big demand as well, which is a data analyst or a data scientist. So guys, we do have a massive demand right now. මොකද හැමෝම AI වලට මාරු වෙනවා, AI data කියනවා, data analyzing ඔය වගේ න data හැම දෙයකම data. ඕගොල්ලන් බලනවා නම් if you watch the Google I/O conference, you might have heard this the CEO who basically says AI for like million times. AI, data, and AI. So yes, AI is entirely based on data, as we know. And then in order to make sure that this data is properly analyzed and created in a way where it can be used for AI processing, obviously that would be done based on data, right? So for that data, we need people who can analyze and build applications and build to come up with decision making level choices for different types of techniques. So now the primary role of a data scientist is basically they analyze data and they extract insights from this particular data set, and they make sure that they can, using that data set, they can make all the specific decisions. And this data can be multiple things, and this data can be statistical data, this data can be mining techniques, and this data can be machine learning algorithms, and so on and so forth. So in my personal opinion, what I can say is this is a nice job. You get paid well, but be careful. You have to have at least some sort of background when it comes to when you are getting into the data analysis or the data scientist roles. Make sure that you come from a mathematical background. That is just a point because most of the data analysis and data scientist jobs and these applications where you use data is mainly based on different types of mathematical formulas, because that is how you analyze the data and you create these particular patterns. So if you are, let's say, this is just a suggestion again coming from me, where if you are not, if mathematics is not your cup of tea, or if mathematics is not your strong point, then I believe getting into data science and data analysis would be a bit harder compared to other job roles. But then again, I'm saying if you want to get into this, then hone your skills in those particular areas, and then obviously you can make sure that you have a proper career path for that. Then the next point, we have the cloud engineer and architect. So who is this cloud engineer and who is this architect? And what do they do? So cloud engineers and architects, what their primary goal is to focus on creating design patterns or designs where they implement a certain infrastructure in the cloud. So yes, we do have a module where we talk about the cloud and how these things work, but in simple terms, a cloud architect or a cloud engineer is has the responsibility to basically implement a system in the cloud according to a specific requirement of a company or a solution. Example is now, if we take, okay, best example we can take is we can, you guys all know Uber and PickMe. I think ඔය වගේ technologies දෙයක් ගත්තාම we all know that it's highly depending on the application itself, right? So Uber and PickMe, they do have different specific products deployed in the cloud, and they do need people to manage this. So likewise, that is how this particular flow works. So these cloud engineers and architects are responsible of creating this structure. මේ structure එක හදනවා කියන්නේ හරි simple, මේක simple නෑ. හැබැයි the idea is simple. So the idea is you basically think and build a full complete infrastructure in the cloud, and then you try to migrate what is already there in your local to the cloud itself. අපි තවත් විදිහට කියනවා නම් හිතන්න අපි දැන් ඔෆිස් එකක් ගන්නවා. ඒ ඔෆිස් එකේ තියෙනවා කම්පියුටර් සෙට් එකක්. කම්පියුටර් සෙට් එකකුයි මොකක් හරි ඇප්ලිකේෂන් එකක් රන් වෙනවා. අපි ක්ලවුඩ් එකට මූව් කරනවා කියලා කරන්නේ අපි ඒ ඇප් එක එහෙමම අරගෙන ඒ ඇප් එක එහෙමම ගිහිල්ලා ක්ලවුඩ් සර්විස් එකක, let's say AWS, Google or Azure වගේ සර්විස් එකක we deploy it. And that deployment part, that architecture, that system design is being created by a cloud architect, and that development part, that engineering part is basically done by a cloud engineer. Okay, so that's the basic part, job description about a cloud engineer. And then we get to one of the most highly paid jobs and most interesting jobs as well, which is known as database administrators, DBAs. So database administrators, simple job role but very critical, where you have to be extremely careful about what you do because you are working with data. So a database administrator, what they do is they manage and maintain an organization's database, including installing and configuring database softwares and ensuring that the database security and the database is properly optimized. So why do we need it? මොකක්ද මේකේ ලොකු මේ උමනා තියෙන්නේ? Primary goal, primary requirement is when you deploy something, or app එකක් හදලා app එක දානකොට, that data set must be properly validated by somebody. And that data structure, the architecture of the database, must be created by a database administrator. Because that person must be a qualified person who knows what is going on, and that person will have the responsibility to make sure that the system is properly optimized and built. ඉතින් in simple terms අපි system එකක් හදනකොට DBA කෙනෙක් තමයි system එකේ database එකේ කියන්නේ අපි මේක save කරමු. Let's save this data. Let's save that data. Let's connect these data elements together and let's build a complete database. ඕක කියන තරම් ලේසි නෑ. මම නිකන් explain කරාම ඔයගලන්ට හිතන ඇති මේක හරිම ලේසි වැඩක් කියලා. That is not easy because to become a database administrator you need to have a good background in programming, as well as you need to have a good background in system design and architecture as well, because you need to be able to look at a system and identify the data structure and come up with your own system. And then we jump into, so that's about database administrators, and now we jump into the next industry job position, which is IT support specialists. This is also one of the one of the job career opportunities which has a high demand. So who is this IT support specialist? IT support specialist is a person who will provide technical and troubleshooting support to end users experiencing any sort of IT related issues. අපි මේ සිංහලෙන් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කියන call center කියලා. ඔය call centers in Sri Lanka, about most of the call centers are basically based on this support. ඒ මොනවද මේ support කියලා කියන්නේ? ඔයගලන්ට එනවා මරුමරු calls. So when it comes to the support industry also, depending on the application, you do have different let's say levels of support, and you have different support specialists. Example is if you take something like an operating system, you do have multiple levels in that support hierarchy, where you might have entry level support. Entry level support තමයි ඔය call එකක් දෙද කියන්නේ computer එක stuck වෙලා නැහැ. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන් කියනවා sir මේක කරලා වෙනවද? Did you restart your machine? Did you check XYZ things? That is where you start from the entry level support. Likewise, this support goes up into multiple levels. This is a good industry. There's a high demand, and for people who just want to work during the degree or something, then this would be one of the best choices. So this may work in some sort of a you may have to work with some sort of a company where it can be a company located in a different country, or it can be a company or a service provided by a different country or an organization. So the only downside in this thing is I don't say it's a downside, අර පොඩි අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා නම් ඔතන පොඩි කට්ටක් කන්න වෙන්නේ. Sometimes there are tech support companies who work for or cater කියන්නේ ඕගොල්ලන් ඉන්න customer base එක ඉන්නවා වෙන රටවල්. So they have to cater for a customer base which is located in a different country. Example, if you take a customer base located in USA, then obviously you will have to work in that particular time zone, right? So working in the US time zone means you අපි ඒක ලංකාවත් එක්ක බැලුවොත් you would be starting your work shift somewhere around 6 p.m. in the evening, 6 to 8 p.m. in the evening, and then that would go until somewhere around 1 or 2 in the morning next day. So that's ඒක තමයි මම කියේ පොඩි කට්ටක් තියෙනවා කියලා, depending on, but that's not the typical nature. So depending on the company you're going to work and depending on your product audience, it differs. Okay, so that is how it is. But well paid job. You do have a career opportunity, a ladder you can climb in that as well, and that is one of the most demanded jobs in the country and at this point as well. So next one is IT project manager. Who is a project manager? So a project manager is basically falls under the category which I said before. There's this RPG type of people. So what do you have to do? Mainly your role would be to make sure that your project is properly planned and executed within a specific timeline, so that you can make sure that your system is released to the customer at a point where you promise that system will be delivered. So IT project managers, they basically oversee the planning and the execution, and basically they make sure that the project is completed within a specific organization within a specific timeline. So project managers, they do get access to all the resources, manage budgets, timelines, as well as they get to manage a FPS set manage කරන්න chance එකක් හම්බ වෙනවා. So it's a good job, and I'm not going to say whether it's a stressful job or not, but it depends on the project, the company, and your workload. So for some companies, if you become a project manager, you get a chance to travel as well. So there are some companies where they will, like when you get into a project, if that project is if that project is based on a foreign customer, then obviously you get a chance to travel there, and you get a chance to meet with those people and get their requirements and so on and so forth. So it's an interesting job. At the same time, there can be a little bit stress related to that, but then again, that's work. That is the career you have chosen. And then the final one, which we are going to talk about, is the UI UX designer. So this is not entirely 100% related to IT, because UI UX is something which has a more broader career path, where you have multiple different types of career paths you can follow inside this particular UI UX category. So what I'm going to just explain is the UI UX career path which is there in the IT industry. So now when it comes to the UI UX part, the primary objective or the goal of this is to make sure that your user experience, your application has a good user experience. So UI UX designers and developers, they do play a crucial role when it comes to applications, and especially when it comes to mobile apps and desktop and mobile app and web apps, where you will be using your application almost throughout the day. Example is if you take an application like Facebook or TikTok, they are like specifically generated and developed in a way where it would be extremely user friendly and easy to use, right? So the UI UX designer's job is mainly focused on that. You will have to work with developers and people who are in the current development system, and then at the same time you will have to think about the industry, think about how people react and interact with your system, and you will have to plan it properly, and obviously yes, you have to design. So if you have the creative part in you, and if you want to get into this thing, this industry, then being a designer is also one of the best choices which you can do, because when you get into this UI UX designer career path, it opens up again a vast array of other career paths as well, where you can go into different factors, like you can go into front end designers, you can go into game designers, web designers, application designers, and so on and so forth. So it opens up a lot. So if you guys want any more information about designers and stuff, designers and that particular career path, let us know. We can obviously help you out as well. So that concludes the introduction session. So what did we discuss? We basically went through the whole point, and we went through all the points, and we discussed what you got yourself into, and we went through and we discussed what are the available options, career options you have, and how to identify you, and how to identify what you can do, and whether you're planning to get into the ID industry, how you can basically proceed. So that's a small, like a brief introduction about what you guys can expect by getting into the IT industry and trying to become a developer, as well as we have as well as you guys saw all the available options. So starting from next week, we will be starting the online lectures as well as physical classes for 2025 A levels and 26 A levels, as well as we would be starting a couple of different online sessions where we will be starting the code camp as well as the online development tutorials. So thanks a lot for watching this video. If you stayed until this point, thanks a lot. Please do check out our rest of the videos as well, and stay tuned to this channel for more content. Thanks.